tonight on First at 9 this Sunday the 14th of December 2025. Dauntless, do not succumb to fear. President urges the public to take responsibility in rebuilding the nation. Brick by brick, Rebuilding Sri Lanka Fund raises 3.4 billion rupees from all over the world. Starlink donates 100 units to bolster ongoing relief efforts. The red tape, new circular issued, clear guidelines outlined for financial assistance to families affected by Ditwa. Ready to rumble, rains to intensify from December 16. Met Department issues fresh forecasts. 40 teams deployed to assess high-risk landslide zones.
Kalin baby soap රුපියල් 90කට. Kalin baby podi හැමෝටමයි.
This is Derana First at 9. Live from Studio 24 in Colombo.
Good evening and welcome to First at 9 on the Derana News channel. I'm Aditya Singha joining you live with the latest in Sri Lanka and around the world, brought to you by the only Sri Lankan media network to rise to the pinnacle across all media platforms, recognized as the best by Reservoir and beloved by the people. Now in a top story tonight, the Department of Meteorology forecasts that with the influence of an easterly wave, persistent downpours are expected to intensify over the island from the 16th of December. Meanwhile, the National Building Research Organization disclosed that over 40 teams have been dispatched to inspect disaster-prone sites across the island.
As the time goes on, the authorities uncover further details on the scale of the destruction left by Cyclone Ditwa. The Ulpata village in Badulla was severely affected by landslides that swept the Patahagala hills in Kandakatiya, Badulla on the 27th of November. Even after extensive search and rescue efforts, 8 residences are still nowhere to be found, while around 40 other homes have been partially damaged or completely destroyed. Meanwhile, traffic along access roads to the Kandagidara town in Badulla have been disrupted by landslides. Although temporary measures have been taken to clear the roads, only light vehicles are able to pass through at the moment. The residents remain inconvenienced as the operation of passenger bus services have been impeded. At the historic Mihintale temple, the sermon hall in the upper courtyard was found to be at risk of subsidence. Engineers from the Geological Survey and Mines Bureau inspected the site and concluded that the sermon hall remains at risk. They further warned that the Mihintale Giribandasaya could also face structural damage. Meanwhile, the National Building Research Organization disclosed that more than 40 teams have been deployed island-wide to inspect landslide-prone areas in a bid to issue timely safety recommendations.
The NBRO has received 4,339 requests to inspect disaster-prone locations from the 20th of last month up to today. In response, 40 teams have been deployed to carry out inspections in affected areas, while an additional 15 teams have been assigned to assess the safety of schools in disaster-hit regions.
Clay roof tile manufacturers say that around 120 clay roof tiles factories in Vennapuwa, Dankotuwa, Pannala and Katana have been destroyed due to the heavy flooding caused by the overflowing of the Maoya. Meanwhile, residents in Anuradhapura, Yasasiripura and Pubudupura, who bore the brunt of the Malwatu Oya spillover waters, claim that they are yet to receive government relief. In the meantime, with the overflowing of the river Kalani, household waste of damaged residences have piled up along the roadsides. Employees affiliated with 29 local government institutions in the western province arrived at the location to clear the waste. Meanwhile, restorations of highways and bridges damaged by Cyclone Ditwa are currently underway. The upcountry railway line, which was blocked at several locations due to landslides, is also being cleared as restoration work continues. Repairs to irrigation systems damaged by the floods are also progressing. With the opening of spill gates at the Moragahakanda Reservoir, restoration work of the Alahara Anicut, recently damaged by floods, also continues. Due to the active northeast monsoon, rainfall continues across the northern, eastern and several other provinces, prompting authorities to open spill gates of several major reservoirs. The road leading to the historic Somawati temple, which was inundated in the wake of Cyclone Ditwa's advent, has once again submerged. Similarly, the Batiklo Kiranpoli Paindagal Main Road has been submerged following a rise in the water level of the Maduru Oya. Against this backdrop, the Department of Meteorology anticipates that with the influence of an easterly wave, rainfall across the island is expected to increase slightly from the 16th of December. Several spells of showers are forecast in the northern, north central, eastern, over, central and northwestern provinces, while showers or thunder showers may occur at several places in the other areas of the island after 1 p.m.
දවටනේ නියම මිල සඳහන් ස්විස්ටෙක් නිෂ්පාදන මිලදී ගන්න. ස්විස්ටෙක් ගන්න ඕන හොඳම තීරණය.
Now, President Anura Dissanayake emphasizes that rebuilding the nation requires collective determination, urging citizens not to succumb to fear or uncertainty in the face of challenges arising from the disaster. The President made these remarks while participating in an official ceremony held at the Trincomalee Naval and Maritime Academy yesterday.
President Anura Dissanayake, who arrived at the Naval and Maritime Academy in Trincomalee yesterday afternoon, was received with full naval honours. During the ceremony, officers trained at the Kotalawala Defence University and the Trincomalee Naval and Maritime Academy were formally commissioned to service. The passing out parade of the commissioned officers also took place at the event.
We have realized that this disaster has delivered a serious blow to the economy we have been building step by step with great effort. But this is not a time to complain or lose heart. When disasters and tragedies strike, our responsibility is not to panic or run away. It is to stand firm and rebuild this country together. Every citizen must carry that responsibility. The Sri Lankan Navy shoulders a heavy and extremely important responsibility as we embark on this journey. We know that during this disaster, many lives were at risk. However, with the mention of the military, including the Navy, countless lives in affected areas were saved. Let me remind you of what happened on the bridge running over Kalaoya. A bus was stranded and swept away by floodwaters, forcing 69 people to climb up onto a rooftop to survive. For more than 18 hours, they fought for their lives amid rising waters and strong winds. The Navy played a decisive role in rescuing them. Even after the rescue boats were damaged, naval officers moved on to the rooftops with the civilians, standing by them and giving them hope. Those 3 officers of the Navy played a significant role in Chundikulam. Meanwhile, 5 naval personnel lost their lives while engaging in an operation to widen the mouth of the lagoon, crucial for preventing floods in the region. They made the ultimate sacrifice for the people of this country. These recent examples clearly depict the value and the reputation this profession holds. Even officials work tirelessly in disaster-affected areas to restore livelihoods of those people. Let me say this once again. You are stepping into a profession of great honor, great responsibility and deep national pride. Now, the Rebuilding Sri Lanka Fund, established to assist those affected by Cyclone Ditwa, has received over 3.4 billion rupees from local business leaders, Sri Lankans overseas and foreign institutions. Speaking to media, the country's Treasury Secretary highlights that 40 nations have extended their generosity to bolster post-Ditwa relief, with the United States making the largest contribution.
As of today, the Treasury Operations Department has indicated the amount collected has been 3,421 million rupees. In other words, 3.4 billion rupees have been received into the respective accounts. This includes the cash deposits, check deposits and deposits in foreign currencies based on the respective accounts located in different countries, belonging in the name of Deputy Treasury to the Secretary, as well as for the DST account commonly known as operated through the CBSL, as well as Bank of Ceylon account, similarly to through the People's Bank account that are being operated. There are 40 different countries or citizens and well-wishers and supporters, institutions have donated funds where USA or the collection through North America is leading the chart, followed by Australia, UK, Germany, Italy, Maldives, Saudi Arabia, France, United Arab Emirates, Korea, 3 business entities, private companies, large institutions in Sri Lanka has contributed more than 100 million each on their respective contributions to rebuilding Sri Lanka account, and similarly contributions or donations between 20 million rupees to 100 million rupees. There are 4 institutions that have contributed into rebuilding Sri Lanka likewise.
Meanwhile, the Treasury Secretary also announced that US-based Starlink has donated 100 satellite units to assist disaster management efforts.
We have received another consignment of Starlink communication units from America. The donation was already received into Sri Lanka, and the customs is engaging in facilitating the necessary clearance process in order to hand over those units to the Disaster Management Center as early as possible to facilitate easier communication, to reach out and understand the requirements of respective divisional secretariats and the faraway districts which are still having some of the challenges in terms of communications. It's a lengthier process, but the support that we are getting will make that journey that much easier. Financial assistance is also being received from various institutions. We have been pleased to receive and announce the Gangarama Temple has donated 100 million rupees with the advice of the chief incumbent and with the support of the facilitations of the patrons of the Gangarama temple. Another temple in Singapore has donated 23 million rupees equivalent in Singapore dollars have been received into the account of rebuilding Sri Lanka. These funds will be used to provide the reconstruction and renovation of religious places of worship, temples that were affected by the floods, landslides and the cyclone.
As Sri Lanka gradually attempts to resume routines told by Cyclone Ditwa, Prime Minister Dr. Harini Amarasuriya chaired a meeting yesterday at the Nuwara Municipal Council. The meeting focused on the resumption of schools in the flood and landslide ravaged Nuwara district.
The education sector faced the brunt of this disaster at a vulnerable time. The GCE advanced level examinations were underway at the time. However, not a single examination paper was compromised by the weather. We recalled all examination papers safely to the Department of Examination. Your efforts made it possible. Many have lost your school uniforms, stationery and other equipment during the recent disaster. Don't let those losses impede your school attendance. Let's be sensitive to these issues.
Meanwhile, Commissioner General of Essential Services Prabhat Chandrakirti reveals that close to 7,000 families still reside at relief camps set up by the government.
At the moment, around 6,000 to 7,000 families are staying in relief camps. 6,138 residences were completely destroyed by the disaster. Most families who reside at those destroyed houses now dwell in relief camps. Others moved in with their relatives, while some took up residence elsewhere. Authorities are assessing whether aggrieved families can be resettled in partially damaged houses based on NBRO reports. The government is currently working on providing a monthly rental allowance for up to 3 months. The main challenge is providing permanent housing for families who have lost their homes completely. The government will take steps to facilitate the construction of homes valued at 5 million rupees. At the moment, the government is in the process of identifying plots of land to build those houses. Relocating those families will take time. However, others are expected to be resettled within at least 2 to 3 months.
In the meantime, the Sri Lanka Air Force continues to distribute relief to those affected by Cyclone Ditwa. Accordingly, aid donated by the general public and various institutions were distributed to Udawalawa, Doluwa and Rajatalawa today by the Sri Lanka Air Force. The floods that ravaged the Anuradhapura district destroyed computer equipment housed at several school computer laboratories. In a bid to bolster ICT education despite the setback, a stock of computer equipment was donated to disaster-struck schools in the Anuradhapura district under the patronage of the governor of the North Central Province, Wasantha Jinadasa.
Now, the Ministry of Defence has issued new guidelines under a circular to empower those affected by Cyclone Ditwa, outlining financial assistance for families. The relief packages cover housing, livelihoods, education and temporary relocation.
Disaster-affected families will receive 25,000 rupees per housing unit to clean homes or temporary shelters and make them suitable for resettlement. This applies to houses that are fully damaged, partially damaged or contaminated due to floods, cyclones, landslides or structural collapses. The allowance is provided regardless of house ownership, land ownership or income level, and no damage assessment is required. If multiple families reside at the same residence, the 25,000 rupee disbursement will have to split among the affected families residing together. For rented houses, the allowance is paid to the tenant or shared if the owner also resides in the same house. A further 50,000 rupees per housing unit will be provided to purchase essential kitchen utensils and household appliances for resettlement. This applies to houses that are fully or partially damaged or where essential household items were destroyed due to floods, cyclones, landslides or wall collapses. This allowance is paid after verifying damage and is granted regardless of land ownership or income. Where several families occupy one house, the amount is expected to be split equally among the families residing together. For rented houses, the tenant is entitled to the allowance shared with the homeowner if both live in the same house. Families who have lost their homes or livelihoods due to the disaster and whose houses have been declared unsafe for habitation by the National Building Research Institute are eligible for monthly allowance for 3 months. Families with 2 members or fewer will receive 25,000 rupees per month, while families with more than 2 members will receive 50,000 rupees per month. This support also applies to families living in rented houses who have lost their livelihoods. School students affected by the disaster will receive 15,000 rupees per student to purchase books, uniforms and clothing to continue their education. Homeowners who have lost their houses or whose home have been declared unfit for occupancy by the National Building Research Institute will receive a rental allowance of 25,000 rupees per month for a maximum of 6 months. This allowance is provided only to homeowners, not tenants, and is limited to 1 allowance per permanently occupied house to support temporary relocation until a new house is built.
30% discount on Arpico Farm and Spring mattresses available at Arpico Supercenter and Arpico Daily.
මූස්සහ ෆීනික්ස් නත්තල් ෆියස්ටා නොවැම්බර් 13 සිට 16 දක්වා අනුරාධපුර ස්පොට්නික් ක්‍රීඩා පිටියේදී.
Welcome back. Now, opposition leader Sajid Premadasa raised concern on the deafening silence of meteorologists in the wake of Cyclone Ditwa's passing. Addressing the media in cyclone-ravaged Gampala, the opposition leader slammed the government for not heeding the timely warnings issued by the Meteorological Department.
Opposition leader Sajid Premadasa visited multiple sites in Gampula ravaged by Cyclone Ditwa and conferred with affected residents. During the visit, hospital equipment valued at 2.9 million rupees was also donated to the Gampula base hospital.
At the moment, it seems that the officials of the Meteorological Department have been temporarily incarcerated. They are prohibited from independently speaking to the media. Why is that? Officials of the Meteorological Department clearly stated that it wasn't just recently, but from the 11th to the 26th, for 15 days on repeat, they had issued warnings on the serious calamity of this cyclone. No evaluation was done regarding the warnings. We requested that the state of emergency to be declared, but that too fell on deaf ears. Even stakeholders of the disaster management sector revealed that there are no plans, no circular, and that without all that, it is impossible to provide relief.
Now, in the flood-hit village of Jenitaswatta Kochikade Nigambo, a newly constructed house along with several renovated homes were officially handed over to their owners today. This initiative was carried out under the Sarvajana Balaya's Sarvajana Senhasa program, fulfilling a commitment made by party leader Dilith Jayavira to complete construction within just 7 days.
The recent severe weather that swept across the island profoundly impacted the lives of residents. In the village of Jenitaswatta, Kochikade, Nigambo, all 69 homes were devastated by floods, leaving the community in a state of tragedy. Amid this crisis, the village received a visit from Dilith Jayavira, leader of Sarojana Balaya, to assess the situation firsthand.
හරියට සුමානේ අද සිට ගණන් කරන්න විත්තිය ලියලා තියෙනවා. මූලික ප්‍රාග්ධනය දෙන්නම් විෂය යදගෙන. රසයිකව. දෙන්න අපි සපෝට් කරනවා.
As promised, the new house, completed in just 7 days under the Sarvajana Senihasa initiative, was officially handed over to its owner today.
දිරිබ්ජා විරමතුමා ඇවිල්ලා ධම්මික ඔයාට මම අනිවාර්යයෙන්ම දවස් 7න් ඔයාගේ මේ නිවස හදලා දෙනවා. ඔයාට අනිවාර්යෙන් 7 වෙනි දවසේ ඔයාලා ගෙදර නිදා ගන්න පුළුවන් කියන තත්ත්වෙ මට පොරොන්දු වෙලා ගියා. ඒ වගේම මාරයි මට හිතා ගන්නවත් බෑ දවස් 7න් හරියටම 7න් මට ඒ ගේ ආපහු මට තිබ්බේ බොහොම පොඩි ගයක් මාර විදිහට ලොකු ගයක් හදලා මට එතුමා පූජා කරා. ගෙවල් හොදගන්න වතුර එකේ ඉඳලා ගෙවල් වලට ගා ගන්න ප්ලේන්ට් එකේ ඉඳලා කරන්න පුළුවන් උපරිම දෙයක් මේ අද වෙනකම්. සියලුම දේ දීලා තිනවා.
ඇත්තටම මේ සිදුවීම සිදු වුණාම අපේ හද කම්පා වුණා. ලංකාවටම එකවර මේ වුණු මහා ඛේද වාචකය. ඉතින් අපි මේ ඇත්තටම ජෙන්ටස්පුරේ කියන්නේ එක අවස්ථාවක් විතරයි. මේ ගමේ තත්ත්වය අපි තේරුම් ගත්තා. ඉතින් තේරුම් අරගෙන අපි පොරොන්දු වුණා. අර කිව්වා වගේ දේශපාලනිකින් තොරව අපේ සටන් පාටේ තමයි වැටි නැගිටිමු. ඉතින් අපි හැම කෙනෙක්ම උත්සාහ ගන්න තමයි මේ උත්සාහ කරන්නේ. ඉතින් අපිට අවශ්‍ය උනේ මේ සිදුවුණු ඛේදවාචකයේ හමුවේ දේශපාලනය නොකර කොහොමද සෙනෙහස පතුරවන්නේ ඒ වෙනුවෙන් සර්වජන සෙනෙහස මෙසේ වැඩ කටයුතු කරගෙන යනවා.
The Sarvajana Senihasa program also vowed to repair many flood ravaged houses. Financial support was extended to reopen several shops destroyed by the floods as well. Remarkably, all essential materials required to sustain the lives of the entire village community affected by the disaster were also supplied.
Now, the Derana relief operation continues to support those affected by Cyclone Ditwa. Donations of essential school items including books and bags are being accepted at the TV Derana head office in Colombo 10. With schools reopening, Derana ensures that the donated items will be delivered to children in need. Donors are encouraged to contribute generously to provide school equipment to affected students. Welcome back. Now, an explosion occurred early today at a crude oil buoy located near the Colombo Port, causing a fuel leak. Approximately 200 metric tons of crude oil have been released into the sea for at least 20 minutes. The Marine Environmental Protection Authority, the Sri Lanka Coast Guard, along with the assistance of the Sri Lanka Navy and the Air Force, took steps to remove the crude oil that mixed with the seawater. Despite the impact of Cyclone Ditwa, the latest reports of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority reveals that Sri Lanka has welcomed over 70,000 tourists between the 1st and the 11th of December this year. In the meantime, a Ritz-Carlton luxury cruise ship carrying around 400 tourists arrived at the port of Colombo today.
A luxury cruise ship from the world-renowned Ritz-Carlton Yacht Collection arrived at the passenger terminal of Colombo Port today, carrying around 400 tourists. Deputy Minister of Tourism Professor Ruwan Ranasinghe, Chairman of the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority Buddhika Hewawasam, and Managing Director of Aitken Spence Travels Private Limited Nalin Jayasundara attended the occasion.
So Ritz-Carlton cruise or yacht collection came to Sri Lanka, and this is actually the top end of the cruises which are reaching Sri Lanka in this year. This is one of the markets that we have been looking at. They came all the way from Mauritius, and we are actually looking for more of this level of ships.
We are in the Colombo Port's passenger cruise terminal where in the background we can see the Ritz-Carlton super luxury cruise which docked here in Colombo Yard today with 400 passengers. The tourism industry in Sri Lanka is under several challenges. This marks a very significant occasion where the message will go to the world that Sri Lanka is ready again to cater the luxury tourism market.
The Deputy Minister also added that tourist arrivals for the year is expected to reach 2.36 million by the end of December, representing an 18% increase compared to last year. The cruise ship is scheduled to sail to Colombo Port tomorrow. In the meantime, the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority's weekly report noted that 70,023 tourists arrived in Sri Lanka during the first 11 days of this month. With this, Sri Lanka has attracted 2.1 million tourists for the year as of December 11th. According to data from the Sri Lanka Tourism Development Authority, India continues to top the source market with 15,152 tourist arrivals, while the Russian Federation remains second with 8,033 arrivals. A significant number of tourist arrivals were also recorded from Germany, the United Kingdom, China, Australia and France.
Now, in a corporate development, styling, decor and Cafe Delizio were recently unveiled in Colombo, a concept envisioned by chartered architect Dilushi Mendes. The showroom brings together contemporary design, artisanal craftsmanship, and timeless home aesthetics, while Cafe Delisio is set to host interactive craft sessions that celebrate creativity and skilled craftsmanship. Sri Lanka's home decor scene enters a fresh chapter with the launch of Styling Decor and Delisio Cafe in Colombo. The two spaces officially opened recently, showcasing an inspired collection of decor pieces crafted by both local talent and international artisans.
As architects and designers, sourcing distinctive handcrafted pieces is often challenging. I've seen a number of timber and other material pieces that had been wasted. I was inspired to transform what was once discarded into meaningful design elements. This vision ultimately gave rise to Styling Decor, with Delisio Cafe emerging as a natural extension of the concept. The space will host craft sessions, providing a platform for artisans, including those with physical disabilities, whose livelihoods depend on their craft, to present their work to a wider audience. Delisio Cafe was launched to infuse the entire initiative with a sense of positive energy.
Now in your world news, Australia is shaken by a violent attack at one of its most famous beaches. Gunfire erupted during a crowded evening gathering at Sydney's Bondi Beach, sending people fleeing in terror. Authorities are now scrambling to respond as the full scale of the tragedy emerges.
12 people were killed while around a dozen were injured after two gunmen opened fire during a Jewish holiday gathering at Sydney's Bondi Beach today evening. Police in New South Wales confirmed one suspect attacker was dead. Meanwhile, a bystander tackled and wrestled a gun from one of the two alleged gunmen during the Bondi Beach mass shooting. 11 injured people, including 2 police officers, were taken to hospital. Witnesses described scenes of panic as gunfire erupted for nearly 10 minutes, sending crowds fleeing across the sand and into nearby streets. Bondi Beach, one of Australia's most iconic and crowded locations, was packed with locals and tourists at the time. Prime Minister of Australia Anthony Albanese called the attack shocking and distressing, saying emergency services were working urgently to save lives. Israeli leaders condemned the shooting as a terrorist attack, while Australian Jewish leaders said the community was deeply shaken. Muslim groups also denounced the violence. Mass shootings are rare in Australia, making this the country's deadliest since 1996.
That's all the news we have for you tonight. Thank you. Have a great night.